Jin Wu Choi did not believe in fate. He believed in control, power, and clean deals made behind closed doors. But the moment a 6-year-old girl walked into his blind date and said, "Mama can't come, she sent me," his world shifted in a way no business rival ever could. He had checked his Rolex 3 times. 7:45 p.m. The blind date was supposed to start at 7:30. His mother had pushed him into this. "You are 32, Jin Wu. You need a wife, not more enemies." He had agreed just to end the argument. The restaurant was quiet and expensive. Crystal glasses clinked softly. Low lights reflected off polished floors. Everything was controlled. Perfect. Like his life. 2 tables away sat Minseo, his assistant. She pretended to work on her laptop, but he knew she was watching. In his world, even a blind date could be a risk. Jin Wu was about to stand up and leave when the door opened. A little girl walked in. She was small, maybe 6. Dark skin, 2 uneven ponytails, and a wrinkled dress that looked like she had chosen it herself. A worn backpack hung off her shoulders. She walked straight to his table like she belonged there. "Are you Jin Wu?" she asked seriously. He blinked once. "Yes." "Good." She climbed into the chair across from him and dropped her backpack on the table. "Mommy's sick, so I came instead. We can't miss this, because Auntie Chinese worked really hard to set it up." For a moment, his brain stopped working. Across the room, Minseo nearly dropped her laptop. 30 minutes earlier, Joanna Thompson had been shaking under 3 blankets in her small apartment. The summer air was hot, but her body felt frozen. The flu had hit her hard the day before. She had pushed through her shift at the diner, served customers with a fake smile, then collapsed as soon as she reached home. "Mommy, you promised we would go to the nice restaurant," Zoe had said, standing beside the couch. "I know, baby," Joanna whispered, "but Mommy is too sick." She had tried to reach for her phone to cancel the date. It was gone. "Zoe, where's Mommy's phone?" "I have to get ready," Zoe had said and run to her room. The room had started spinning. Joanna had passed out. Back in the restaurant, Jin Wu stared at the little girl. "Your mother is sick?" he asked slowly. "She has the flu really bad." She was shaking and everything. Zoe unzipped her backpack and pulled out a small plastic bag of crackers. "I brought snacks in case you were hungry." "Mommy says always share." Jin Wu felt something strange in his chest, something tight. "You came here alone?" "I took the bus." "Mommy takes it all the time, so I know which one." Minseo was already walking toward them. "Sir," she said softly, "should I call the police?" "No," Jin Wu said immediately. His eyes stayed on the child. "What is your mother's phone number?" "I don't know. I'm 6. "Do you have her phone?" Zoe nodded proudly and pulled out a cracked phone from her backpack. "I needed it for the map." The phone was locked. Jin Wu ran a hand through his hair. A 6-year-old had taken a bus across the city alone because her mother made a promise. "Are you going to marry my mommy?" Zoe asked while eating a cracker. He almost choked. "What?" Quote, "Auntie Chinese said this is a date. Dates are for people who might get married." She looked at him carefully. "Do you have a lot of money?" "Mommy works really hard, but we're still poor. She cries sometimes when she thinks I'm sleeping." That did it. Something inside him cracked. "Zoe," he said gently, "does your mother know you're here?" She was sleeping. I left a note so she wouldn't worry. I'm very responsible. Minseo leaned closer. "Sir, I found 3 possible blue apartment buildings near bus route 7. Before he could answer, the restaurant door burst open. A woman rushed in. She looked sick. Pale skin flushed with fever, hair messy, pajama pants under a thin jacket. She moved like panic itself. "Zoe!" The little girl jumped from the chair. "Mommy!" The woman grabbed her daughter tightly. "You can't just leave like that," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I left a note," Zoe said softly now. The woman pulled back and checked her daughter's arms and face. "Are you hurt? Did anyone touch you?" "No, Mommy. Mr. Jin Wu gave me chicken." Quote, Her eyes finally landed on him. Jin Wu stood slowly. He had met powerful women, cold women, perfect women, but this woman stood in front of him, shaking with fever and fear, holding her child like she would fight the world for her. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice rough. "I was sick. I passed out. I never meant for her to—" She swayed. Without thinking, Jin Wu stepped forward and caught her elbow. "You need to sit. I need to take my daughter home. You need to sit before you fall." Another woman rushed in behind her. "Joanna! I found them!" Shanice, Joanna. So this was her name. Minseo quickly ordered water and soup. Jin Wu guided Joanna into a chair. "Drink," he said. Her hands shook as she held the glass. The restaurant was staring now, but Jin Wu did not care. He looked at Zoe. "You were brave," he said quietly, "but this was dangerous." "I was careful. Being careful is not enough. The city is not safe for little girls alone." Zoe's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't want Mommy to break her promise." Jin Wu looked at Joanna. Her eyes were tired but strong. "Promises are important," he continued gently, "but your safety is more important." Zoe nodded slowly. Joanna watched him in silence. When Joanna finished eating a little, she stood. "We should go. I'm sorry for wasting your time." "You are not going anywhere," Jin Wu said firmly. She blinked at him. "You have a fever. You spent money on a taxi you cannot afford. I will drive you home." "I can't accept." "It is not charity. It is common sense." Shanice leaned closer to Joanna. "Girl, just say yes." After a long moment, Joanna nodded. "Okay, thank you." Jin Wu signaled for his car. As he carried Zoe to the elevator, he felt the weight of her small body against his chest. It felt unfamiliar and dangerous. Not the kind of danger he knew from his world of deals and threats. This was a different kind. The kind that could break him if he was not careful. When they reached the blue apartment building with the broken playground, he saw the truth of her life. Small, worn, honest. He laid Zoe gently on her bed. Joanna stood in the doorway, watching him. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "I know." Their eyes met. For the first time in years, Jin Wu Choi felt something he could not control. And that scared him more than anything. Jin Wu did not belong in places like Joanna's apartment. His world was glass towers, private offices and meetings where men lowered their voices when he entered the room. Her world was peeling paint, second-hand furniture, and a kitchen light that flickered every few minutes. But that night, as he stood in her small living room, he felt more awake than he had in years. Zoe was asleep in her room. Shanice had finally left after making Joanna promise to call if she needed anything. The apartment was quiet, except for the soft hum of an old fan. Joanna leaned against the wall, still pale. "You should go," she said softly. "You've done enough." He did not move. "You have a fever," he replied. "Have you seen a doctor?" "I can't miss work." "That was not my question." She looked away. Jin Wu studied her more closely now. She was beautiful, but not in a polished way. There was no perfect makeup, no designer dress. Just tired eyes and a stubborn strength that refused to bend. "You work 2 jobs?" he asked. "Yes." "And you raise Zoe alone?" "Yes." "Where is her father?" Joanna's jaw tightened. "Gone." The answer was sharp. Final. He nodded once. He did not push. In his world, people disappeared all the time. Some left. Some were made to leave. He slipped his business card onto the small table. "My number, if you need anything." She gave a tired smile. "I won't." "That is not what I asked." She almost laughed. "You're very bossy." "I am used to being listened to." "Well," she said, crossing her arms lightly, "I am used to handling things myself." There it was again. That pride. He respected it. "I will leave," he said finally. "But tomorrow I will send medicine." "You don't have to." "I know." Their eyes locked again. Something heavy passed between them. Not romance. Not yet. Recognition. He turned and walked out. Outside, his driver opened the car door. "Sir, everything all right?" Jin Wu paused before answering. "No," he said honestly, "it is not." The next morning, Joanna woke up to knocking on her door. Her body still ached, but the fever had broken slightly. Zoe ran to open the door before she could stop her. A man in a black suit stood outside, holding a paper bag. Delivery for Ms. Joanna Thompson. Joanna walked over slowly. Inside the bag were medicine, soup, fruit, and a small envelope. She opened it carefully. Rest. No arguments. Dies J.W. She stared at the initials. Zoe looked up at her. "Mr. Jin Wu." "Yes." "Is he coming back?" Joanna hesitated. "I don't know." Across the city, Jin Wu sat in his office on the top floor of his company building. The skyline stretched wide behind him, but his attention was not on the city. Min Seo stood in front of his desk. "You sent medicine," she said carefully. "Yes." "You canceled 2 meetings this morning." "Yes." "You are thinking about them." He did not answer. Min Seo studied him. She had worked for him for 5 years. She had seen him threaten men without raising his voice. She had seen him buy out companies with a single signature. She had never seen him distracted. "She is not from our world," Min Seo said gently. "I know. Your mother will not approve. I know. And the board. I do not care." The words came faster than he expected. Min Seo raised an eyebrow. Understood. He leaned back in his chair. In his world, weakness was dangerous. Attachments were risks. Enemies used family as weapons. He had built walls around himself for a reason. But last night, when he carried Zoe up those broken stairs, something inside him had shifted. A week later, Joanna returned to work at the diner. She still felt weak, but bills did not wait for recovery. The bell above the diner door rang. She did not look up at first. "Table for 1, a deep voice said. Her heart jumped. She turned. Jin Wu stood there in a simple black coat. No suit, no tie, but even dressed down, he carried power like a shadow. "You can't be here," she whispered. "Why not?" "This place is not." "Not good enough?" Quote. She stopped. "That's not what I meant." "I know." He sat in a booth. Other customers stared. He did not care. She walked over slowly. "What are you doing here?" "I am hungry." She crossed her arms. "You have 5-star restaurants. Today, I wanted a diner." Silence stretched between them. Finally, she grabbed a notepad. "What will you have?" "Whatever you recommend." She rolled her eyes slightly. "Coffee?" "Yes." When she returned with the cup, he spoke again. "I meant what I said." "About what?" "Trying again." She looked down at the table. "You don't know me." "I know enough." "You saw chaos. That's not romantic." "I did not come for romance." That caught her attention. "Then why?" "Because your daughter took a bus across the city alone to keep a promise you made." He met her eyes steadily. "That tells me everything about the kind of mother you are." Her throat tightened. "And what kind of man are you?" she asked quietly. He did not smile. "One who does not walk away when things get complicated." The air felt heavy. Behind him, 2 men entered the diner. They wore dark jackets. One had a scar along his jaw. Min Seo had warned him that a rival group had been watching him lately, testing boundaries. The men did not order food. They stared. Joanna noticed the shift in his posture. "You know them?" she asked softly. "Yes." "Friends?" "No." The scarred man smirked. "Well, well," he said loudly. "The great Jin Wu Choi eating cheap food." The diner grew quiet. Joanna felt the tension instantly. She did not understand his world, but she understood danger. Jin Wu remained seated. "You should leave," he said calmly. The man stepped closer. "Or what?" Joanna's hand tightened around the coffee pot. In that moment, she saw something in Jin Wu's eyes. Cold, sharp, familiar with violence. A different man from the one who carried her daughter gently to bed. Two worlds, colliding, and she was standing right in the middle. The diner felt smaller. The air turned heavy, like a storm about to break. Joanna stood frozen beside the booth, coffee pot still in her hand. She did not understand the rules of Jin Wu's world, but she understood one thing clearly. Those men were not here for food. The man with the scar stepped closer to the table. "You look different without your bodyguards," he said with a slow smile, almost normal. Jin Wu did not stand. "I am asking you politely," he said calmly. "Leave." The calm in his voice was not gentle. It was controlled, dangerous. The second man leaned against a chair and glanced around the diner. Nice place. Shame if something happened to it. Joanna's stomach dropped. This was her job, her only steady income. If something happened here, she would lose everything. She placed the coffee pot down slowly. "Sir," she said carefully, looking at the scarred man, "if you're not ordering, I'll have to ask you to leave." The man laughed. "You're brave. I just want you out of my diner." He turned to Jin Wu again. "You hear that? Your little waitress has teeth." Jin Wu's jaw tightened. "Touch anything in here," he said softly, "and you will regret it." The man's smile faded slightly. Everyone in Seoul's underground world knew that tone. But pride was a dangerous thing. The scarred man leaned closer to Joanna instead. "You know who you're serving?" he asked her. She did not answer. "He's not just some rich CEO." "Enough," Jin Wu said sharply. The single word cut through the room. For a moment it looked like violence would explode. Then the diner door opened again. Minseo walked in. Calm, professional, unbothered. Behind her, two large men in dark suits stepped inside. They did not speak. They simply stood there. The scarred man glanced at them, then back at Jin Wu. "This isn't over," he muttered. "It never is," Jin Wu replied. The two men left. The diner slowly breathed again. Customers whispered. A glass clinked somewhere. Joanna felt her knees weaken. Minseo approached the table. "Sir, the car is outside." Jin Wu finally stood. He looked down at Joanna. "I am sorry." "For what?" "For bringing my world into yours." She crossed her arms. "You didn't bring it. It followed you." He studied her face carefully. "You are not afraid." Quote. She let out a short breath. "I don't have the luxury to be afraid. I have rent due next week." That answer hit him harder than he expected. Minseo watched quietly. Jin Wu reached into his coat pocket and placed money on the table. "For the disturbance." Joanna pushed it back toward him. "I'm not taking that. It's not charity. I don't care what you call it." Their eyes locked again. Pride met pride. Minseo hid a small smile. Finally, Jin Wu slid the money back into his pocket. "Then I will pay properly for my coffee." He placed a smaller bill down. Joanna picked it up without a word. When he turned to leave, she spoke. "Wait." He paused. "If you come back," she said carefully, "leave that part of you outside." He gave a faint nod. "I will try." After he left, the diner owner rushed over. "Joanna, are you okay? Who were those men?" "Trouble," she answered honestly. That night she lay awake in bed. Zoe was asleep beside her, one small hand wrapped around her arm. Joanna stared at the ceiling. Jin Wu was not just a rich man. There was darkness around him, power, enemies, danger. And yet, when he had spoken to Zoe, he had been gentle. When she had been sick, he had shown up. Two different sides of the same man. It confused her. Across the city, Jin Wu stood on the balcony of his penthouse. The city lights spread below him like stars. Minseo stepped outside quietly. "You should not go back to the diner," she said. "I know. You will put her in danger." "I know. Then why are you thinking about it?" Quote. He did not answer immediately. Because when Joanna had refused his money, she had not looked impressed. She had not looked afraid. She had looked equal. "I have handled enemies my entire life," he said finally, "but I do not know how to handle her." Minseo almost laughed. That might be more dangerous than the rival gang. He gave her a look. She grew serious again. They were testing you, she said. If they know you are spending time in public places without protection, they will use it. I will increase security. For her? Yes. Minseo studied him. This is not just curiosity anymore, is it? Quote, no. Quote, the word came without hesitation. The next evening, Jin Wu returned to the diner. This time, 2 discreet cars parked outside. He entered alone. Joanna saw him immediately. You don't give up easily, she said. No. She walked over slowly. You said you would leave that world outside. I did. And did you? He met her eyes. As much as I can. She studied his face, searching for truth. Why are you really here? He hesitated for the first time. I want to take you to dinner. Her breath caught slightly. And Zoe? Both of you. You don't even know me. I want to. Silence stretched between them again. Customers moved around them, but the space felt still. You're dangerous, she said softly. Yes. You could ruin my life without meaning to. Yes. And you're still asking? Yes. She looked down at her hands. For years, she had survived by keeping her world small. Safe. Predictable. Men like him did not belong in it. But he had already stepped inside, and part of her did not want him to leave. Dinner, she said finally. Nothing fancy. Somewhere normal. He nodded once. Tomorrow. As he walked out, Joanna felt her heart beat faster. Not from fear this time. From something else. Something just as powerful. And just as dangerous. The restaurant Jin Wu chose the next night was quiet, but not flashy. Warm lights. Wooden tables. No cameras. No business partners. No shadows, watching from corners. Joanna noticed the 2 black cars parked across the street anyway. You said normal, she said as she stepped inside with Zoe's hand in hers. This is normal, Jin Wu replied calmly. For you, maybe. Zoe ran ahead and waved at him. Mr. Jin Wu! He bent slightly to her level. You wore the blue dress, he said. You remembered. Yes. Joanna watched that small moment carefully. They sat down together, Zoe between them at first, talking nonstop about school and her friend who always borrowed crayons and never returned them. Jin Wu listened like every word mattered. Not polite listening, real listening. When the food came, Zoe focused on her plate. Joanna finally looked at him properly. Those men yesterday, she said quietly, who are they? Competitors. That is not what they looked like. He did not lie. They are part of a rival group. Group. She let out a small breath. So you're not just a CEO. No. She waited. I run businesses, he continued evenly. Some legal, some complicated. Her fingers tightened around her glass. Complicated? Like dangerous? Yes. And people get hurt? Yes. He did not soften the truth. Zoe looked up suddenly. Mommy, can I get dessert? Joanna forced a smile. Yes, baby. After Zoe ran to look at the dessert display with the waiter, Joanna leaned forward. You can't be around us if this puts her in danger. His eyes hardened slightly. I would never allow harm to come to her. You can't control everything. His jaw flexed. I control more than most. That's not an answer. Silence sat between them. For the first time, she saw something under his calm surface. Fear, not for himself. For them. I have enemies, he said quietly. But I also have power. Protection. Quote, I don't want protection. I want peace. He studied her face like it was something fragile. Peace does not exist in my world. Then maybe I don't belong in it. The words landed heavy. Zoe returned with a slice of cake, smiling proudly. Look what I got. Jin Wu smiled at her instantly, the tension disappearing from his face. Joanna saw the shift again. 2 men in one body. Later that night, after Zoe fell asleep in the car, Joanna spoke softly. This is bigger than us. Yes, I won't risk her future. You think I would? Quote, I think you don't understand what it means to have nothing. When you have nothing, you protect it with your life. His voice lowered. And when you have everything, you protect the one thing that finally matters. Her heart stumbled at that. They reached her apartment building. The broken swing creaked in the wind. He walked her to the stairs but did not step closer. I need time, she said. I will give it. You won't pressure me? No. You won't try to fix my life with money? Quote. No. Why? Quote. Because in his world, everything was solved with money or force. But she had refused both. Because you would walk away, he answered honestly. She held his gaze. Yes, I would. He nodded slowly. Then I will not. For 2 weeks, he did not call. He did not visit the diner. He did not send flowers. Joanna told herself she felt relieved. But every time the diner door opened, her eyes lifted automatically. At night, she stared at his business card on her kitchen counter. Zoe noticed. You miss him, Zoe said one evening. I don't miss anyone. Zoe crossed her arms in a way that looked too much like her mother. You're lying. Across the city, Jin Wu was not idle. He sat at a long black table inside a private warehouse. The scarred man from the diner stood across from him, bruised and silent. You approached me in public, Jin Wu said calmly. You brought your weakness into my territory. The man spat. Jin Wu's expression did not change. She is not weakness. Then what is she? He did not answer immediately. Off limits, he said finally. Her and the child. Quote, the men around the table understood. In their world, lines were rare. But when Jin Wu drew one, it stayed. If anything touches them, he continued softly, there will be no mercy. The room fell silent. Later that night, Minseo stood beside him. You are exposing your heart, she said. Yes. And that is more dangerous than exposing your business. Yes. She looked at him carefully. Then why continue? He stared out at the dark city. Because when she looks at me, she sees the man I could be, not the one I am. Meanwhile, Joanna made a decision, not about love, about trust. The next afternoon, she dialed his number. He answered on the first ring. Yes. Silence. It's Joanna. I know. Her breath trembled slightly. Can we talk? Yes. Somewhere quiet. I will send a location. No drivers, no bodyguards. A pause. Fine. They met at a small park near Zoe's school. Children ran across the grass. Parents sat on benches. Normal. Jin Wu walked toward her alone. No black cars. No shadows. Just him. I needed to see you without all of it, she said. You are. She studied him carefully. You told them to stay away, didn't you? Yes. Why? Because you asked for peace. Her throat tightened. And if your world pulls you back? It always will. Then what happens to us? He stepped closer, but not too close. Then I fight harder. She searched his face for doubt. There was none, only certainty, and something deeper, something that looked like love. The question was not whether he could protect her. The question was whether she was ready to stand beside a man who ruled in darkness, and whether he was ready to choose light. Joanna looked at Jin Wu standing in the middle of the park, sunlight falling across his face instead of shadows. For the first time, he did not look untouchable. He looked human. I won't pretend your world doesn't scare me, she said quietly. It should, he answered. I won't let Zoe grow up around violence. She won't. You can't promise that. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I can promise that I will never let it touch her. That's not the same. Silence stretched between them while children laughed in the background. Finally, she said the words that mattered most. If this continues, you don't get half of us. You get all of us. That means school events, doctor visits, late-night fevers. Hard days, no disappearing when things get messy. His answer came without hesitation. I don't disappear. She searched his face again. And when your enemies use us to get to you? His jaw tightened slightly. Then they will learn fear. That's not what I meant. He exhaled slowly. Then I step back from the parts of my world that put you at risk. That was not a small promise. In his world, power was survival. Walking away from parts of it meant weakness. Would you really? She asked. For you, he said, yes. The simplicity of his answer broke something inside her, not because it sounded romantic, but because it sounded real. Zoe ran toward them across the grass. Mommy, look! I can do it faster now! Quote. Jin Wu crouched down as she showed him how she could spin without falling. He laughed when she stumbled and caught her before she hit the ground. Joanna watched them together. This was not about money, not about status. It was about presence. Weeks turned into months. Jin Wu did not rush her. He showed up, every school play, every parent meeting. He waited in his car outside the diner some nights just to make sure she got home safely. But he did not walk inside unless she asked. His world shifted quietly. He stepped back from violent partnerships, closed certain doors, strengthened the legal side of his company. Some men whispered that he was softening. They were wrong. He was choosing. One evening, he stood in Joanna's small kitchen while she graded papers from her night classes. You're quiet, she said. I am thinking. That's dangerous. He looked at her with steady eyes. Marry me. The words were simple, no dramatic speech, no ring presented yet. Just truth, she froze. Jin Wu! I will not give you a fantasy, he continued calmly. My past does not disappear, but my future can change. She set the papers down. You're asking me to step into a storm. I'm asking you to stand beside me while I quiet it. And Zoe? She is already my heart. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. You don't do things halfway, do you? No. She laughed softly through her tears. That's terrifying. Are you afraid of me? She stepped closer. No, I'm afraid of losing you. His expression shifted at that. You won't, he said quietly. He pulled out a small ring box from his coat. Not flashy, elegant, carefully chosen. I want a life where you don't have to struggle alone, he said, not because you can't handle it, but because you shouldn't have to. She looked at the ring, then at him, then toward Zoe's room. Zoe, she called softly. The little girl ran in. What? Jin Wu knelt down to her level first. If I marry your mommy, he said gently, I promise to always protect both of you. I promise to help with homework. I promise to listen. And I promise to never break the kind of promise you tried so hard to keep. Quote. Zoe looked serious. Will you stay? Quote. Yes. Even when mommy gets mad? A small smile touched his lips. Yes. She nodded once. Then okay. Joanna covered her mouth, overwhelmed. He stood and held the ring out again. Joanna Thompson, he said softly, will you let me build something real with you? She did not answer right away. She stepped forward instead and kissed him. Yes, she whispered against his lips, but we build it together. The wedding was small. No reporters, no business headlines, just close friends. Minseo stood proudly at his side. Shanice cried openly and told everyone she had planned this from the beginning. Zoe walked down the aisle with fierce focus, holding flowers like they were treasure. When Joanna reached Jin Wu, she saw no darkness in his eyes that day. Only devotion. I saw you at your worst, she said during her vows, and you stayed, not to fix me, not to control me, but to stand beside me. He took her hands firmly. You showed me strength without power, loyalty without fear, and love without conditions. Quote, they kissed while Zoe cheered loudly. Years passed. Joanna finished her degree and became a teacher. Jin Wu restructured his empire, cutting ties with violence piece by piece. His name remained powerful, but now it was built on strategy instead of fear. Their home was not the small apartment anymore, but they kept the broken swing from the old playground and placed it in their garden as a reminder. One night at dinner, Zoe looked between them. "Are promises still more important than safety?" she asked. Jin Wu smiled. "No. Then what's most important?" Joanna squeezed his hand. "Showing up," she answered. "Even when it's hard," Jin Wu added. Zoe nodded thoughtfully. "Years ago, a little girl walked into a blind date alone because her mother was sick. That moment could have ended in fear. Instead, it became the beginning, not of perfection, but of something stronger. Real love, built in chaos, protected in darkness, and chosen every single day."